Good morning, everybody. Glad to see you guys here today. How was the keynote? Enjoy it? That's great. That's great. So the first talk after the keynote is always a challenge because I've always got to try and outdo the mastery of the keynote. Okay, so basically, I'm just second best. That's all that it boils down to. But today we're going to be looking at solid is a lie, how best practices is killing your code. I've hired some critics on the front row here. If we can just close the door and lock it so that nobody runs out during the talk, because it just goes against your grain and you feel sick at the stomach by reading that title. If you have eggs and you've brought oranges to throw at me, please do that after. And if you want to do it, I'll stand outside on the side here because my sister bought me my fantastic laptop that I'm using to run LLMs on it. So I don't want you to damage that, you know. So just tell me, I'll stand over here. So solid is a lie. How best practice is killing your code. Who am I? Reminds me of that song. And I've forgotten the song actually. But my name's Robert Bravery. The surname Bravery doesn't actually say who I am. I'm a coward. Actually, I met a girl many years ago that I was chasing after before I met my wife. We went to a youth group, and I sat next to her, and then we had to introduce ourselves, and she was on the left, and we were introducing ourselves, and she stood up and said, "I'm Kayleen Coward." And then I stood up and said, "I'm Robert Bravery." Everybody started laughing. I thought I was taking the mickey out of her. And her name was actually Coward, C-O-W-A-R-D. But Robert Bravery, we're the only Braveries in the country, and that's because my great-grandfather absconded from the war up in Europe, and he came down to hide in South Africa. So basically, you know, I'm just a bad guy. I've been a developer since the 1980s. Who's here that was born after 1980? Like half the room, most of the room, right? Okay. My first computer was a ZX Sinclair 48K. That 48K is the amount of memory I had and the price that I paid for it. Okay. In those days, memory was a premium. And now memory is becoming a premium. I seem to forget quite a lot all the time. I work at IQ Business since 2011. I used to have black hair. When I started working at IQ Business as a consulting management firm, I got grey all of a sudden. I don't know why. I don't know if you guys feel that. This is what you have to look forward to. Okay? So you might want to leave right now. I have one wife. Yay, I have one wife. I have 10 children. I have 110 cats. And I have 101 dogs. You're getting it now, right? Okay. All right. When I showed my wife this, she was very angry at me. Okay. So I'm actually not that old. I'm actually 29. I've been 29 since yesterday. I was 29, I think, still. But really, the solid is a lie is basically clickbait to get you guys in. So if you can come in and close the door and lock it so that the guys don't leave. But basically, I want to talk about a pragmatic look at solid and balancing the principles with simplicity and modern design and modern software engineering. And everybody has a set of rules that they live by. And those rules are important for you and I to become sane and remain sane in the world. All right, there's nothing more mad than a poor, deranged software developer screaming at ChatGPT saying, "That's not the right answer." Okay? So the one way to look at it is Tony Hoare, a British computer scientist, who said this. Okay? There are two ways of constructing a software design. One way is to make it so simple that there are obviously no deficiencies. That's what we aim for, right? The other way is to make it so complicated that there are no obvious deficiencies. The first method is more difficult. I propose to you that the reason why I said solid is a lie is because solid doesn't make you clever. Any of you guys remember the advert, clever? None. My guys, am I the oldest person in the room here? All right. Okay, I was born, I remember Noah and Seth on the ark. But he invented the quick sort algorithm. So some pretty clever guy. Any of you guys invented a sort algorithm lately? Huh? I tried once to write the longest sort algorithm ever. Okay? Not only in lines of code, but how long it took to sort. And I'm afraid to put it on GitHub because of all the critic that I'll get. But anyway. But a pretty clever guy. In project management, there's this thing called a iron triangle. And the idea there is you can only choose two of the fast, good, and cheap. And I don't know if you guys in the software engineering team have ever also had to do that. You have to choose only two. Okay, so first of all, if you choose fast and good, it is expensive. All right? Everybody wants good software. And everybody, who are the salespeople in the room? No, I wonder why. Okay? Every salesperson I know says, yo, we can do cheap. You know, don't worry, that 17, 18-month software, we'll have it ready for you in 3 months. Anybody experience that? Yeah, of course, right? But if you want fast and good, it's going to be expensive. Not only in cost and in resources, but in time as well. Fast doesn't necessarily mean time fast. Okay? If you want fast and cheap, you're going to get low quality. All right? How many of you have ever written low quality code? Yeah, the rest of you come, stick your hand up. Yeah, you guys, I know. Okay? How do you know that? Because when you go back to your code you wrote last week, you said, what idiot wrote that? Oh my goodness, you got to get blame. Who's that Robert Bravery that wrote that? Wasn't me. All right? Fast and cheap, it gives you low quality. And for good and cheap is slow. Right? You want one guy on the project and you want it to do well. It's going to take a long, long time. I'm trying to test ChatGPT and trying to test Vibe. Who's heard of Vibe coding? Hey? I mean, what the heck is... When I first saw Vibe coding, I thought it was this guy sitting at his desk and doing vibing, But I said, okay, let me test ChatGPT out and test all these coding LLMs. And I tried to write a enterprise-type application. It's since November last year, I'm still busy with it because ChatGPT is, it's useless. Okay? It's good for certain things. And the problem that I find out is you can't just say ChatGPT, please write me an enterprise application, and it goes off and you name that, and it doesn't. So the application I'm writing is called Furry Friends. And before you all disgusted at me, it's about pet sitting and pet walking. Okay? And I'm trying to use this to analyze, and then I also want to teach it to the junior developers out there who think vibe coding is the thing, But you know what? You'll never get all three. It's impossible. You can't have fast, good, and cheap. It just doesn't work. And so this is where we are in our coding experience. The genesis of solid principles. Who has heard of solid principles? Don't stick your hand. No, stick. These guys, these are the stalwarts. These are the defenders of the faith. Okay? Thou shalt not like solid. All right? Solid was invented by this guy, Uncle Bob, Robert C. Martin. I'm here to tell you have a new Uncle Bob in town. My dad was also Robert, and his name was Robert William, and my name is Robert A. Bravery. And at work, they call me Uncle Rob or Uncle Bob. So I'm the South African Uncle Bob. Right? Shouldn't you be listening to me? But Robert C. Martin he started this idea of the solid principles because of the way that when he was working, he found code that was very rotten. Okay? And he wanted a set of principles that will be able to enable developers to write better code. And I said, Uncle Bob, you stupid idiot. Get better developers. Right? So single responsibility. I'm going to have to turn to my notes. Who knows all the exact words of the solid thing, right? You do. Okay, there you go. Single responsibility principle. Now, a lot of people interpret this as the class must do only one thing. Okay? No. We have to define what's single responsibility. Nowhere in human organization is there a single responsibility. Only once is when you're watching the Springboks. Right? When your wife says, is that all you do all day? Watch sport. Okay? But single responsibility doesn't mean just one thing. What is one thing? Okay? Who of you have got windows in your house? Okay, the rest of you, are you here on a pass or you've just been let early out from the asylum? Okay? A window has one responsibility, right? No. It's there to do what? It's a barrier. Okay? It's also there to irritate my dogs. Because they stand at the window and bark at the other dogs walking past the gate and all the time, okay? It's also there to let light in, okay? If you're in your other room with the steel decorations on it, it's there to let light in but stop you from going out, okay? Our window also acts as a portal for our cats. Okay, my 101 cats, over there. They go. Actually, fact, we got the cats dumped on us, by the way. So I'm playing woe with me. But too many. The problem with single responsibility principle is people have the misinterpretation of what it means. It means that it must have one reason to change. That it must. What is the one thing that it does? Our human bodies have a single responsibility. Does it? No. Okay? God said, go forth and multiply and replenish the earth. Some people have taken that too literally. 10 kids. Only two. Okay? But, we eat and we breathe and we fun, we laugh. Nowhere is there any one thing that has a single responsibility. When you go down deeper, yes, your engine in your car also doesn't have a single responsibility. The piston in your car, okay, doesn't have a single responsibility. It's got multiple, okay? There's this idea of making pressure and also using that force to drive. And the problem is that too many people are focused on trying to make themselves look clever. Who of you have ever gone to interviews when they ask you to explain and write code and look at solid principles? That's the bane of my life, And, I go to interviews and I say, I don't use single responsibility principle. They go, why? I said, because I don't only do, I'm a guy, okay? I might do. The only people that know about what real single responsibility is the woman, okay? Because they're the only people that can multitask, okay? They're the only ones that can cook food and feed the dogs and the cats and run a board meeting on Teams at the same time and look respectable. Guys, we don't know how to do that. Okay? My wife, when she gets up in the morning, I have one single responsibility to get up in the morning. That's go to work. My wife has dinner cooked before 6 o'clock in the morning, and she brings me, love her, she brings me breakfast in bed every day since we got married. I have no responsibilities, guys. That's my single the only responsibility I have is to wake up in the morning and just, be there. Open-close principle. Who's ever written software in the end of the day said, I'm never going to touch that again because it's closed? Okay? The reason why he did this is because a lot of people from all these old legacy systems are so scared to change something that it's going to break. Now, I worked at our consolidated APSA in 2011, and we had to upgrade the C++ software for the ATMs. Did you know that ATMs is just a desktop machine inside? I was flabbergasted. I thought it was this fantastic engineering feat. And a desktop? Anyway, so I'm going through this piece of code, and I get to a switch statement. And this massive switch statement. And you know what APSA is, right? What does APSA stand for, guys? Have no idea. Man, I already came out of the ark, eh? APSA stands for Amalgamated Banks of South Africa. Okay? In the old days, we had all these multiple little banks. We had Allied, we had United Bank, we had Trust Bank, and Volkskas Bank. And I came out of the army, and when I went into the army, we got 25 Rand a month, which was a lot of money in those days, okay? Because you had free clothing and free food and free board and lodging, and 25 Rand a month was just to buy drinks. That's all it was for. But they deposited it into Volkskas Bank. Okay, and now, in 2011, Volkskas Bank is no more. Trust Bank is no more. And I saw the code, there was a switch statement, and in the switch statement was Volkskas Bank, do this, call this method. Trust Bank, do this, call this method. Allied, and I'm deleting it, and the bank had a hissy fit. I mean, they went, you can't delete that. It's open-close principle. We don't know what it's going to do. I said, if I delete it, you'll find out. No, we can't. I said, who's the guy that wrote this? No, he's dead. I said, now I know why. All right. They had a whole testing room that they had set up a mock of an ATM that counted monopoly money. Okay. And I said, if you put it on there and it doesn't work, you'll find out. No, we're too scared. They're too scared to do that. That's what open-close principle meant to stop. But nowadays, we are better developers, okay? Who are the .NET Java developers here? Shame, eh? I'm sorry for you guys, okay? I know that C.NET came after Java, and you say that Java is the birthplace of .NET. No, we just had to make Java better. That's all. Seriously, I like to fight with the Java guys, all the 3 Java guys in our team of 400. So, no, but the idea there is that nowadays, I mean, Microsoft take a lot of confidence in the open-close principle. Because I understand, when you want to develop something and you've got stuff out in the wild, what you don't want to do is you don't want to make changes that affect what people already have, okay? But there are other ways of doing that. And Robert C. Martin came across this because he, and the single responsibility principle, he found out when he was working at a Xerox, he had the Xerox printer. I don't know if it was before Microsoft or after Microsoft stole Windows from Xerox, but I don't know. But he found that there was a method, a class there, that did printing and stapling and faxing. Okay, and we'll go just now to the interface segregation principle. Just remind me, I must tell you the story about that. Liskov substitution. I mean, I can't even pronounce it. And guys, I have to go to my notes because I want you to listen to this description of Liskov's substitutionary principle. Okay, now, anybody heard of Liskov's coined by Barbara Liskov in 1987? Okay, yeah, this is just after the Ark kind of stuff, okay? So listen carefully. Guys, now listen carefully. 3,642,800, listen carefully. Now you got that? Okay, here we go. Quote. If for each object of O1 of subtype S, there is an object of object O2 of subtype T such that all programs of P defined in terms of T, the behavior of P is unchanged when O1 is substituted for O2, then S is a subtype of T. What? What? All that means is that if you substitute the child in the parent, the child should behave the way the parent behaves. Okay? All the moms and dads, you know what that means. Okay? Right, if you substitute somebody else in for your child, you know, you would hope that your child grows up to be like you. Or maybe some of you don't hope your child to grow up to be like you. I hope my child to grow up to be like me. My son, 27 years old, all he is a PlayStation gamer. He plays something called Rocket League. What the heck? Cars running around after in a circle dome, chasing after a football. How lame is that? Rocket League players in here. Now you guys on, oh, 1, 2. Okay. But all that means, if I have a type and a subtype, and I use the subtype and pass that in for the type, it shouldn't cause side effects. Okay. And that's what they were trying to stop, is the idea of side effects. And some of these things happen naturally if we have well-designed code. Okay? And, oh, that's, I have to go change, because this is not over there. There, okay, interface segregation principle. This principle states that it's basically the single responsibility for interfaces. That's all it is. And they want to say that the interfaces must not be have tons and tons of methods in it. Because in any other object that inherits from that, interfaces have these objects that they don't use, or these methods that they don't use. So when Robert C. Martin coined this, he had this class from Xerox that had, the class had a method for printing, a method for stapling in the interface, and a method for printing. So when the stapler had to inherit and implement the interface, it also had to implement the stapling, the printing, and the faxing. Now, I don't know, maybe Xerox had a brainstorm when they did this. We don't know, because maybe the stapling was printing Braille. I don't know. Okay, but that's what he saw, that why does the stapler need to know what the printer's doing? Right? We understand that, okay? But the problem with it, you get with that, is people now go and they have one interface, one method. One interface, one method. One interface, one method. Okay? And one interface, one method. And the idea here of all of these things is that we want this method over here has 3 lines, okay? Some logic, an if-else statement in there, and then we call another method. And then that method has 3 lines, if-else, and we call another method. And then that one has an if-else, and we call another method. And that one has an if-else, and we call another method. And that one has and then at the end of the day, we have the final logic that says, hello world. Right? And the problem with that is when we get to our next dependency inversion principle, is our classes now have constructors of 300 lines. Why? Because we keep into interface segregation principle, and each interface has one method in it, and we need all these other methods, so we inject 300 interfaces into our constructor. Okay, and I have seen code where the logic is 3 times smaller than the constructor. Oh, but we have interface segregation principle. Yes, so what? It's harder to read and understand. So the question then is SOLID in today's software landscape, are the original problems still prevalent? Yes, they are. We have monoliths. We have legacy systems. Anybody work for banks? Right? Any COBOL developers here? Don't laugh. Those are the richest developers in the world. We are stupid. I should have done COBOL. Because now I can charge. Oh, you got a problem with your if statement. That's going to be $3.5 million for me to change. Okay? We have microservices. Who was around when microservice architecture was the thing, right? And everybody was microservices. Now they realize that you can't apply microservices to everything. Okay, we want to have a simple app that keeps track of the catering and the coffee. Let's write a microservice for it. And we can write it in Java and Go and all of this kind of stuff. And now we have this massive thing with all these microservices and nobody knows what does what. All right? And then we have like functional programming or different programming paradigms that still exhibit these things. Okay? But the question is the unintended consequence of over-engineering Solid. So guys, I'm not here to say to the Solid Kings down here, okay? It's 4 of them, these 4 guys. This here is my team, right? Okay, if you guys decide to egg me, okay, I'll just say the word and they will jump up and they will, yeah. But guys, okay, laughs aside, I'm not against Solid. I preach Solid at our team, I do that, but the idea is just because you can doesn't mean you should. Okay? I saw that this is a real thing from Swiss Army knife. I mean, is that any help? It's something that does everything. The only thing that it doesn't do over there is check a 60/60 delivery, I think. Man, you can do everything with that. But do you need it? The opposite is also true. You know, hammer doesn't fix all. But you know what? The bigger the hammer, the bigger the problem, the bigger the hammer. So, you know, sometimes it does. Who of you have seen this picture? Okay, the idea there is that what does the customer really want? And the primary obvious thing that should be is that one. That's what the customer really wants. And sometimes our over-engineering thing, we want to do the what-ifs. What if we need to have the printer do the stapler? What if we need to have the printer send out a fax? Okay, what happens if we need the printer to make me coffee? Do these things ever materialize? Who of you have sat in design sessions and they want to design the Ferrari without having figured out how to go one revolution forward? And it's no wonder things fail because we don't know how to go forward. If Henry Ford never started and designed the Model T and he wanted to wait for the Ferrari, we would be still running chasing after dinosaurs. Okay? The common pitfalls and dogmatic adherence to solid. Hyper-decomposition, single responsibility principle. Okay? When we try to make everything single responsibility, then nothing has responsibility. All right? Because where does the buck stop? Okay? Something has to take responsibility for everything. In my house, that's my wife. I'm telling you guys, I just work for a living, okay? Here's my wallet. It's got no money in it. Okay? This is my third one. She bought me this wallet for my 100 and whatever birthday. And I've got multiple other wallets. They all look the same because they're all empty. I get nervous when I have to spend money. She pays the bill. I said to her, you know what? You must die first. Okay? And she said, I'm going to tell my lawyers. Because if I go first, then they must look for the holes in between my toenails, She does everything. And sometimes when you abstract this hyper-decomposition of abstracting everything, then nothing becomes pertinent. And it becomes very difficult to understand. What does this thing do? I have to go down 7 levels to say, oh no, it just says hello world. And I'm busy in the process of writing the most complicated hello world program in the world. I'm using every single pattern. I'm using every single solid thing. At the moment, it's about 1,000 lines long. And everything that I have good, valid reasons of doing it. Unnecessary abstraction. Open-closed principle. trying to abstract everything that we think needs to be abstract. Sometimes things just need to be together. The idea there is what changes together lives together. That's the idea of solid. It's not to abstract everything so that it's so vague. Have you ever been a junior developer, gone onto a project, and you look in here, so haven't got a cotton picking, plucking clue what this thing does? Okay? I don't know what it does. Oh no, it's there to do a login. Why not just write login and have a, no, but we have to abstract this, and we've got to abstract the password validation, and we have to abstract the, and where does it live? Oh, it lives in these layers, and we have to go to that DLL over there. What does that DLL do? Now that DLL calls another NuGet package. Just write the freaking login method and be done with it. Okay? Forced inheritance, where you have to force every single thing to inherit from every single else. Sometimes just newing up a logger in a test method or something is fine. Have you ever tried to force inheritance in your test code? Hey, I understand that sometimes we need to do this. That's perfect, because you don't want to have these tight coupling, and you want to have cohesion, and I understand all that, okay? But try to force that in the beginning is sometimes very difficult, okay? Interface explosion, segregation principle, okay? And the other one is over-inversion of the dependency inversion principle. Now, in my life, in my house, I live all these things manually, okay? And how do I know that? Because from a single responsibility principle, my wife moved to England, not moved to England, maybe she did. So I'm a great Liverpool supporter. Any Liverpool champions? We are the champions, Liverpool guys. Ah, there we go. Okay, the rest of you out. Man United supporters. 17, shame, eh? But my wife is from Liverpool, okay? They are all staunch Liverpool supporters, okay? And if you marry somebody from Everton, or if you walk down the wrong side of the street, okay, they'll kill you. So single responsibility, I understand that. My wife, though, lives the dependency inversion principle. You know why? She went over to England. I woke up, I don't know what I'm going to eat. Where's the food? We have no food in the house, okay? 5 minutes later, I hear a beep, 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 beep outside the gate. The dogs are going wild. The guy outside there, 60. She's injected the food into my house from England. Okay? She delivered this, and then my daughter takes on the Liskov substitutionary principle, because the daughter now acted like the wife. She went and made all the food. Okay? I still have one responsibility. I still don't pay any bills. She paid all the bills from England. Okay? She sent me food. The only reason why I'm alive today is because my wife follows dependency inversion principle. My wife follows single responsibility. She brought out my daughter, who's 19 now, to take care of me, because I don't know how to take care of myself. I'm over abstracted. The tangible costs, we have 7 minutes. The tangible costs of over-engineering software. Number one, missed deadlines and increased costs. I am an example of that. Okay, my current project is nearly 2 years late. Okay, and it's overcomplicated, but I can't change it now. And the cost, I've missed, in fact, my boss just sent me a WhatsApp now complaining because I'm like, but I'm keeping to solid. Lekker! Nee. Technical debt. The technical debt is us over-engineering, doing stuff and putting stuff in there that we'll never use. Doing the Ferrari when you're in traffic. Okay, your Ferrari is only going to go 20 k's an hour. Now, doesn't matter what you do in the traffic. Okay, increase cognitive load. This is the big one. If you ever get out of doing a PR and at the end of the day you need to go see a psychiatrist, okay, You understand cognitive load. You understand the difficulty is to concentrate, to dive down into those deep, rotten areas of where the code lies, and it feels like I'm going down to the basement to find out what this thing does. And I find out that it is a one dot that is missing in that piece of code, and it's taken me 3 hours to figure it out. Failure to achieve product market fit. And this sometimes is a problem because the other guys, they don't care what their code looks like because the client doesn't care what your code looks like. Solid is for us stupid people. Solid is for the guys that don't know how to code properly or design properly. Right? Solid is a human thing. When you compile your stuff, it goes into one DLL. Okay, I don't have a DLL that says single responsibility.dll because, and then I don't have a DLL. No, it goes into one freaking exe, right? It's for us, human beings, to understand. The tangible costs. In a study done, 70% of software projects exceed the initial budget with an average overrun of 27%. I think that's about 75% after this year with me and Botswana. And I think the average overrun is probably higher because of me again. 40% of software projects fail to meet their deadlines. Who's ever met their deadline in a software project? Stick your hand up. Yes, mal julle lieg, ne? Your boss is not here, okay, you can, tell me the truth. Okay, I've been in there since 1980. You might, if I come for an interview at your company, okay, don't tell them I said this, okay? But I haven't met one deadline yet. Why? It's because they're salespeople. They oversell everything, Who agrees? It's the salespeople's problem, right? It's there, okay? We abstract the problem to the salespeople. That's your problem, not mine. It wasn't mine. I just write software, okay? Nearly half of the global C-suite executives, CEO, CIO, CEE, CCBBBA, whatever, reported that 30% of or more of their organization's technology projects were over-budgeted and late. How long is it going to take you to write this project? 5 years. How much is it going to cost? 27 million. Why? Because we have to keep to solid. Right? And solid is difficult. We're going to have 72 hours of just trying to understand how we can extract if-else statements. IT projects on average run 45% over budget and deliver 56% less value. It's the value to the client that matters. Okay, he doesn't care. All he wants to know is, does it work and did it meet the requirements? Very few projects, and I might be wrong on this, but very few projects have this idea that they can extend forever. Okay, I'm rewriting the Botswana Diamond Inventory Management System because the old project was running on Windows 8.1 using UWP, okay, on client server infrastructure. We now have Azure, everything's going into app services, okay? I can't extend that thing. How in the world was I supposed to figure that out? I'm not Dorothy. Okay, I can't go to the great wizard and say, what's going to happen in 10 years? You heard the keynote, okay? We don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. Okay, maybe all you guys are going to come next year, and it's not going to be a dev conference, it's going to be an employment requirement conference. We're all looking for a job. Why? Because ChatGPT took over my job. Okay, no, ChatGPT is not going to take over your job. You know what's going to take over your job? Is the guy next to you is using ChatGPT to be... But haven't you found out that if you save more time, that they give you more work to do? It doesn't stop, does it? Hey, I've been 60% more productive. I've saved us 20% more time. Yeah, you can go on another project then because you have more free time. What? A 2023 study published in CHI conference found that software engineers experience higher burnout and higher suicide rates compared to other information workers. Huh? Really? I thought our IT guy had it bad. I mean, you know, who wants to deal with all those cables? Hey, running cables through roofs, and he's having a ball. It's you and I that have to go to the psychiatrists and the doctors. Why? Oh, solid. I have to get to solid. Solid! No, guys, come on. Okay? A Haystack Analytics survey revealed that 83% of developers suffer from burnout, with top reasons being higher workloads. Okay? It's hard to implement solid in everything. Okay? Inefficient processes and unclear goals. Okay? And I bring us back to this. Solid is not the complicated goal that we should be going for. Not all the time. Sorry, guys. Ek vaar verskoning. Okay? Keep to the best practices, but the idea here is only when the best practices, my time is up. Okay? Keep it simple, stupid. Okay? YAGNI, if you don't need it, don't do it. And who works for estate agents? No. What's the mantra of estate agents? Location, location, location. The mantra for when to use best practice, when to use solid, is context, context, context. Everybody's context is going to be different. And so don't make it a dogmatic thing that you have to do X, Y, and Z. Look at the context first. Okay? Move beyond solid. Think of your separation of your concerns and understand what your concerns are. Code readability and clarity. Testability without over-inversion. Refactoring, the Boy Scout rule. Don't try and refactor the whole code base. Refactor the code that you're busy working in. Make that code better. And then when you go to the next function, make that code better. Be pragmatic in your design choices. And remember, done is better than perfect. Thanks, guys.